My name is Joshua Heston. I am editor-in-chief of State of the Ozarks. And this interview and these interview questions were developed in consortium with Liberty Lectures, Branson U, and the public. And we are filming here at the Hughes Brothers studio.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I would like to welcome our Alderman for Ward 1 candidate, Clay Cooper. Clay, it's great to have you here.
It's good to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah. And for folks, I think most everybody knows you.
I hope so.
I really do. But we do have some cool biography information.
All right.
You were born in Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas.
But you moved to Branson in 1986 when you were only 16, and you have worked as, and this is probably not a surprise to people, you have worked as an entertainer and a musician for 35 years. Now having owned Clay Cooper's Country Express since 2004.
Right on.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You've been married to your wife, Tina, for 21 years, and you have 3 children, Cassidy, Colton, and Caden, who have either graduated from or are enrolled in our Branson School District.
That's right.
You have performed at a lot of places. You have performed.
Well, is that a good thing or
that's
a bad
good
thing?
thing?
Can't keep a good job.
You have performed for the Ozarks Jubilee Theater, the Country Review Show, the 76 Music Hall, Country Tonight Show, and the Paul Harris Live Show, in addition to your own show on the 76 Strip. You are a member of the Woodland Hills Family Church, and you enjoy golf, movies, hunting, and shooting, and you have served on the board of the Branson Chamber of Commerce.
You did some research.
Just a little bit. But, of course, welcome. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
And jumping right in, how do you see Branson in 5 years?
Well, in 5 years, that's if I could look into my little magic ball here. I mean, Branson is, first of all, I love Branson. I moved here as a kid on a whim. I was working with a band down on the Dallas-Fort Worth area. That we were all kids, 8 of us. I was the oldest at 16. The youngest was 8 years old. And I grew up in a little town called Wiley, Texas, right outside, 30 miles from Dallas. And at that time, the TV show Dallas was being filmed, which was a huge, huge hit. And South Fork Ranch was about 3 miles from my house. So we had a lot of tourists coming to look at trying to find JR. A lot of their stuff was was recorded, obviously, on set in Hollywood. But several times a month, they would come to on location stuff. So we were hired as a band. We played on filming days when the crew would come to South Fork Ranch to film. They had this big, big barn outside the mansion there, and we got a gig we were the entertainment. I mean, big, big, fancy barn, dance floor and stuff. And we'd do some shows there and do this and that. Anyhow, word got out about us kids and this band, and our drummer's mother had a connection in Branson at the old original Starlight where Chisau Childs was. And we hopped in a van and came to Branson, and I'll never forget, man, it was like I say on a whim. We all piled in 2 vans, drove to Branson, and I'll never forget pulling off Highway 65, and we made that turn, got on the strip, and all I saw was just racing light bulbs and signs, and I thought, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I'm 16, grew up in a town of 1,000 people. And I just remember driving down the strip, and the Foggy River Boys were there, and the Plummer family, and the Presleys, and the Baldknobbers. And I thought, man. So we had a gig. We had an audition at the Ozark Jubilee, and we pulled into the Ozark Jubilee Theater. The show was going on that night, and I remember walking in the front doors, and it was all these guys in gray tuxedos and purple cummerbunds and bow ties. I'm like, wait, those are country singers? But it was hillbilly fashion. I'd never seen nothing like that. And they did the show, and right after the show, the owner said, "You kids want to audition? That's what we're here for." So we all took our instruments out, got up on the stage, and auditioned. He said, "You're hired." And we're like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, can you start in 2 days?" We're like, "Well, I guess so." So 2 days, our parents brought us all clothes. He put us up in a 6-bedroom home downtown. We all lived together, went to school here, and it was an amazing thing. And since that day, that's all I've ever done my whole life. I'm 50 years old, and performing in Branson is not a job. It's my life. It's a lifestyle. It's where I raise my kids and how I support my family. And Branson's changed a lot in those years. And there, and I'm not saying there's not, but there was always a kind of a camaraderie of everybody wanting to help one another, and I think that's changed some as the world has. Everybody's looking out for number one, which is themselves. But I'd love to see it get back to, we're all in this together, and we really are. I mean, if I'm not doing good, the Hughes brothers aren't doing good. If the Hughes brothers aren't doing good, the Presleys aren't doing. We all have to do good. We have to drive people to this town. If they're not here, none of us are going to benefit from that. And I know that there's been a big push to change Branson to make it more kid friendly, family oriented, and that's great. And I think you do have to change with the times. But I also don't want to, let's not forget, let's dance with the one that brought you to the dance, the old saying says. And I think it's very important and vital to keep our live shows on the front, because that is what sets us apart. It's what makes us unique. I love having the Ferris wheel. I love the Wonderworks and the museums and the aquariums, and that's all great. But also the number one driver is live entertainment, and I'd love to see that on the forefront of our marketing plan here. And in 5 years, who knows? As it is now, there's new things going up every day, and that's all good. Branson's going to grow, and it needs to grow, and it needs to reach out to the younger crowd and stuff. And I see Branson really bouncing back from the pandemic. I think it's centrally located. People can get here without getting on an airplane, and I think it's going to take some time. I don't see us just opening our doors this March and people flooding in. I think it's going to take a little time, but Branson's there's good people here, and there's just heart and soul in this town, and I think that's what makes it unique. There is flash and there is entertainment, but there's also good, wholesome family fun here, and that's what makes Branson what it is, and I don't think we need to leave that behind.
So why did you decide to become involved in politics?
Well, have I? Well, I'll tell you one thing. I never in a million years would have thought of running for any kind of office, and I tugged at it day in and day out for months. My wife and I discussed it. We prayed about it. We talked about it, and I went to a lot of the meetings over the mask mandate, and obviously I'm not getting into this just to repeal the mask mandate. That is a priority. But there's a lot more to it than that. I think I'd be foolish to say I'm gonna go spend 2 years of my life in meetings and just to get the mask off our faces. There's a lot more to it, because the city is important to me. It's my livelihood, like I said, and the future of this town is reflects on me and my family and my bills and everybody here. That's why we all do it. It's all important to us because it's how we survive. So I thought, I felt like at times in the last few months that our voices weren't heard. And I feel like, well, if I want my voice heard, I need to get it up in the mix. And that's pretty much why I ran.
So as a policymaker or future policymaker, what is your number one priority for the residents here in Branson?
Well, that's a good question. My number one priority for the residents, keeping Branson safe. I think that's always a concern. Whether that be the pandemic or crime or homelessness or whatever the issue is. I think that should be on the number one focus is the residents. That's why we serve, right? To be a voice for our constituents and the people in our ward and the people of our city. So, protecting our citizens should always be number one, regardless of what the issue is.
Over the last year, we have seen increased division here in our community. How would you address that?
Man, that ain't just here. That's the whole country is divided like none of us have ever seen. You've always had Democrats and Republicans, but like I mentioned before we got on camera, they could still find some common ground and talk things out and find a way to make it work. We all have opinions. I have opinions. Democrats have opinions, Republicans have opinions, and everybody thinks their opinion's right. But initially, somebody's going to get that vote, and somebody's going to lose. Their opinion's not going to be heard. But you still have to. That doesn't mean that they're evil or they're wrong. Everybody's got an opinion, and I just wish that we could realize that, and come to some common ground that we're all in this together. And that may sound cliche, but we are. I mean, I haven't liked a lot of the things that's happened, and there's been many things in my life that I haven't agreed with or didn't go my way, but you still got to keep going. You know what I mean? Be passionate about it, and if you don't like the way something is, try to make change. And if that don't work, get back up and get on the horse and ride her again. That's all you can do.
Yeah. So give us an example of a past crisis that you've experienced, and how did you handle that situation?
I didn't see this on the list. Let's see. A past crisis, and how did I handle that situation? Well, crisis, that's a big word. I don't know if I've had a big crisis in a long time. I mean, obviously we've had issues, from the pandemic with finance I guess that's been a crisis, but I don't know. I mean, that's a crisis.
Or we can change it to a small crisis.
A small crisis. Oh, that makes it much.
Doesn't that help?
That makes it much better. I don't know. I mean,
or even just a challenge, something that
well,
how do you approach problem solving?
Well, my wife, number one. I mean, we bounce everything off each other, and she's my rock for sure. I mean, she's got a great business mind and spiritual mind, and just if there's problems, we try to, we have 90 employees. There's always a problem. I mean, somebody's got an issue with Billy Bob, or Joan don't like Jim or something. I don't want to work with him because he don't sweep as good, and the daily stuff. But I think you have to try to keep your cool, and that's not easy sometimes. I've had an issue with that myself in the last few months. But if you do lose your cool, you just have to stand. You have to man up and say, hey, I made a mistake. I'm passionate about it. I don't apologize for my passion, but you just have to address things and try to find common ground with the issue and resolve it. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. So historically speaking, citizens who gain a position of power sometimes compromise their beliefs, or they assume a double standard when there's pressure. How would you personally respond if you found yourself in that situation?
If I say that again?
Historically speaking, citizens who gain a position of power sometimes compromise their beliefs, or they assume a double standard. How would you personally respond if you found yourself in that situation?
Well, I would hope that wouldn't happen. I mean, if you believe in something, I would hope that you wouldn't fold to the pressure. I don't want to get up here on this camera right now and make a bunch of promises that I can't keep. I mean, you want to tell people this is what I'm for, and this is why I'm doing it, and this is what I stand for. And again, this goes back to, all having our opinions, and sometimes the opinions don't work out. You still, I may be passionate about something and want something to happen, but I'm not going to just give in if it ain't going my way. I mean, I think you have to stick to your guns, man. And if you believe in something, you just do it, because I'm not going to, if I'm elected, I'm not going to get up and just say, well, all the other guys are voting yes on this, I might as well too. You just can't do that. I mean, you're running to represent, and people are going to vote you in based off of what you represent. And if you get up there and you change your path, then you've misled the people that voted you in.
What is the distinction between setting policy by city administration and setting policy by city council?
Say that again.
What is the distinction between setting policy by city administration and setting policy by city council?
Ooh. What is the distinction between policy By administration versus the board?
The administration, the hired employees of the city, for example, staff, city administrator, city attorney, as opposed to the council members, the elected council members, which you're running for.
Well, there could be, as far as administration setting policy, there could be some personal agendas mixed into that. Making things happen that suit them versus what suits the people, because the councilmen, the aldermen are there to set policy based on what's best for the citizens, and they're not getting paid. I mean, they're making $10 a meeting, so there's not a lot of pat in the pocket or agendas there. You know what I mean? I think the policy should be driven by the people that represent the people.
How do you plan to enable the community to combat our local drug problem?
Say that again.
How do you plan to enable the community to combat the local drug problem?
How do you get the people and the citizens involved in helping with the drug problem?
The citizens, businesses engaging. Just in short, what are we going to do? We clearly have some issues happening. What do we need to do?
Yeah, well, that's a big question, and a question that's been asked in many towns and cities and communities and villages all over the country. It's a problem everywhere. I mean, I don't think you can hide that, and it's everywhere. I think. I mean, getting involved. Yeah, I mean, I think the law enforcement is a major part of it. And I mean, I definitely back the blue, and maybe more staff for the police department to help control the situation. I know they've recently gotten they have a K9 unit now, maybe a couple, I'm not sure, but that was a big step. I think funds for a K9 unit and a specific part of the law enforcement that is attacking the drug issues is definitely a big improvement. As far as the people, man, I mean, I don't, how's the business? How is a business going to help control that? I don't know. Do you know?
Not offhand.
I don't either. I mean, like
it's. I think there is that sense. Everybody does want to do something. We know this is a problem. We know we want to help. Oftentimes, I feel that if we don't know what to do, we just don't do anything.
Well, that is true. Yeah. I mean, there's always been a lot of talk about it. People talk about it all the time. What are we going to do about this problem? How are we going to fix this problem? What are we going to do about this problem? I mean, I've said it 1,000 times. We've all said it. But I mean, maybe putting together some not necessarily a committee, but a task force or something. I mean, is there specific task force that's what they do, is just focus on the issues of the drugs, or maybe that's the first step. A committee or a task force that is their main priority. 24 hours a day, as long as when they're on duty, that's their job, is getting out in the public and asking questions and finding out where this is happening and that's happening and addressing it that way. I mean, you're right. I mean, they're talking about it and then doing something about it is two different things, and that should be something that we should definitely address sooner than later.
According to a November 12th, 2019 article on KY3, quote, the city is $170 million in debt. What is your plan or opinion about this level of debt?
The city of Branson is $170 million in debt?
In
2000.
In 2019, I think it's gone up by about $10 million.
Wow.
Since 2019.
That's serious. Well, I think first of all, again, I've not been knee deep in politics. I mean, I hear what's going on. I hear this and that, and I just as an observer, I've noticed maybe some silly spending has happened throughout the years. I mean, do we really need a $100,000 statue that sits on the strip, or do we need this, or do we need that? We might look back and maybe we shouldn't spend $250,000 on this, or maybe we shouldn't have started a beautification of the strip that was going to cost multi tens of millions of dollars when we only had five in the bank, and then we start pouring some concrete, and then all of a sudden, oops, we're out of money. Maybe we should be better stewards of that money. You know what I mean? Before we just start spending, let's have a plan and a blueprint of really details of what this is going to cost. First of all, is it that important? Do we really need this before we commit to spending $15 million? Because maybe not. I think stewardship of the money and careless, better stewardship of the money and less careless spending would be my first step. Just really paying attention to where the funds are going and if it's really that needed. And is spending $10 million on this down here going to drive more people to the strip? Maybe not. You know what I mean? I do that in my own business. Somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, we really need a new moving fixture over the piano over here." Okay, well, how much that cost? $10,000. Is the show still going to go on tomorrow if we don't have that moving fixture? Oh yeah. Okay, well then let's hold off on the $10,000 fixture and we'll get it when things are a little better. Just some common sense there. If you ain't got it, stop spending it. It ain't that hard, I don't think.
Now I'm gonna throw some questions at you in terms of poverty and homelessness. Kicking this off, I've got a bunch of stats.
Okay.
So, according to Christian Action Ministries, or CAM, these are from their 2019 statistics. Back in 2005, there were 2 motels with extended stay. In 2019, that number had gone to over 40. And over 2,000 Branson residents were living in extended stay, 500 of which were children. In 2009, CAM served 11,000 individuals. In 2018, that number had risen from 11,000 to 62,000 individuals that they had served through their food pantries over the course of the year. And in 2019, the area poverty rate was listed at 17.8%, but then Executive Director Elizabeth Hughes stated she believed the poverty rate to be much higher because the census data did not include weekly motels. What is your plan or your thoughts about addressing these needs?
Well, homelessness, it is a problem. And it's a problem for the community. It's a problem for the people that's in that situation. First of all, you need to have a drive to help yourself, which most of those people do, I think. Maybe some don't, I don't know. But I don't think anybody that's living in a weekly hotel really wants to be there. I can't imagine that, And sometimes people just they fall on hard times and they look up and they've lost a job and their husband's left them. They got 3 kids and all of a sudden they're just scrambling to make ends meet, and that may be their only option. You know what I mean? It's either that or you're living under a bridge somewhere. And I've served those hotels. I've been in the food drives. I've delivered food to a lot of these hotels and went door to door and handed them food. It's a sad thing, man. I know of a woman, like I said, a single mom, 6 kids living in a hotel room with 2 queen size beds. it's pitiful. I mean, it's sad. You know, those kids are innocent. They're just kids like my kids. They just want to play with their toys and go to school and have friends. You know, a lot of them probably don't even know any different. But they're just being kids. But they also they don't realize the daily struggle that parent is going through to keep them sheltered and fed and clothed and get them to school. Which, I mean, that's not even easy. Just getting kids, a person in that situation, just getting them to school and back every day is a struggle. It's an issue. Getting clothes on their back, getting food in their bellies. They don't want to be there, and it is a big issue. It's a sad issue. I hate it for anybody in that position, and I think that should be a big priority is helping these people in this situation. I mean, I know they've the tiny homes that are going in over here, and that could be a good thing. I don't know a lot of details about it. I know they get a discounted rate and this and that, and I know the reason behind it is that you can get into those places without first month's rent, last month's rent, deposit on water or electricity, this and that. You can just move in and pay. But I also hope that there's stipulations, guidelines, that if you are going to live there, you have to comply with these policies. I just don't want that to turn in to more stay by the week hotels. So I don't know, man. I mean, I wished I had an answer and say, hey, boom, poof, there's no more homelessness and everybody's living high on the hog. But it is a big issue, and I think that should be right at the top of the list of addressing. And again, do I have the answer? No, I've got ideas, and I think with other people coming together and getting good ideas, nothing but great things could come from that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what are some of your ideas?
Well, some of my ideas. That's a good question too. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think job placement. I mean, getting these people employed is good, and a lot of them have jobs. But then again, some of these people don't have a resume. I mean, how does someone, how does a mom that's been, it's kind of like I remember being a kid when I was 18, 19, wanting to get my first credit card, and I couldn't get a credit card because all they said was, well, you need credit. You don't have any credit. I'm like, well, how do I get credit? Well, you got to build credit. Well, how do I build credit? You got to have credit to get credit to build credit. And I'm like, how does this happen?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's, maybe that's kind of the same thing. Where does that stepping stone start for that mom?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can she get a job at $10.35 an hour and support 3 kids living in a hotel and still pay the bills? Probably not, but you got to start somewhere, and I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know the answer. I just know it's a problem, and I'm willing to do whatever I can to help.
What is your opinion of the homeless camps in the immediate Branson area?
Homeless camps, as in what?
As in the homeless.
You mean
camp.
just like people throwing up tents in the woods and that type of stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen some of those. I've driven down some of the side roads and seen the blue tarps in the woods, and I don't know. I mean, are they just moving in on people's property and just pitching tents and stuff?
I'm not sure.
I mean, how does that work? I don't know that much about it, to be honest. Like I said, I've driven down some of the side roads and seen stuff like that. I mean, what do you do with them? Do you send them to a hotel? Because that's part of the problem too.
We have programs like the J-1 visa program that bring workers into Branson. How do programs like this impact our community?
Well, I mean, is that taking away jobs from people that live here?
I don't know.
Or what do you think?
I'm getting mixed responses. We have some folks who say that it is absolutely necessary because of the seasonality of the economy and the number of people who that we serve, that we physically do not have the local population to provide jobs. That is one response.
I don't know about that.
I don't either. I think it's very interesting to look at, because I do know we're bringing in a lot of people for seasonal employment.
Yeah.
And
Well, I've got a friend that runs 3 or 4 hotels here in town, and they use that program and get a lot of folks in from Jamaica that and she loves them. Like they're the best workers. They're always on time. This and this and that. And she's just tickled and can't wait to get them every year.
yeah,
I know a theater complex in town that uses that program, and he loves them as well. I think you're going to get mixed. The people that use the program love the program, but I also think there's people out there that think, well, wait a minute, those are jobs that we could have. Or my sister's been employed for 6 months. That's a job that they're taking away from them, and I kind of see. I've never used the program. I like to hire locally and give people that live here an opportunity to make money here. I'm not speaking ill against the people that use the program, because I really don't know that. I've never been that in depth in it again, so I don't.
but I think it speaks a lot that, and you said you have 90 employees that you have chosen to hire locally.
Well, let's say, and I don't know I don't know the perks to using that program as a business owner. Maybe there are perks, and that's why they do it. But let's say I got rid of all 90 of my employees that go to school here, raise families here. If I got rid of them today and hired 90 workers from this program, where does that put those 90 people I just let go? What kind of positions does that put them in? That's something to think about. For me, I've never searched that avenue, because it's just never been something that I've ever considered doing. Not that it's a bad. If it's a bad thing that somebody else is doing, it's just, for me, I prefer to hire local and support local people.
And I think what's interesting with and one of the things that you do come back to as the candidate is the human element. Your connection with your employees, your connection with the town. That's nobody expects everybody to have all the answers. Obviously, if this if homelessness could easily be solved,
it'd already be solved.
We theoretically would have already done so. But these are real human issues in a town that you've invested in.
Absolutely. I grew up in a little country town. I was in agriculture and raised pigs at school and played in the band on the weekends and did all that thing. My grandma played piano in the local Baptist church for a couple of decades, and we were kind of taught to treat people how you want to be treated. And all my employees, I don't feel like a boss to them. I feel like a coworker and a friend. It's important to have, I think, to have personal responsibility, integrity, selflessness. That's just the way I was. That's just the way I was raised. If I can help somebody and I'm in a position to help them, then I should help them. Somebody asked me one time, Clay, every time there's a tragedy or something in the community, if somebody's got cancer and they're having a hard time, or their house burnt down and they're needing money to get back on their feet, somebody interviewed me, I don't remember, it was one of the TV outlets up in Springfield, and they said, how come you're always, every time I see something, you're the guy donating your theater and your time to step up first and help people? And I said, well, I feel like it's my duty as a human, as a Christian, to, I've been blessed to be in a position where I'm at. I live good. My kids live good. We don't live in a mansion. We live very modest, and I have a 20-year-old pickup truck. But if I'm in a position that I've been given an opportunity to be in a position where I can help people. I don't feel like it's something I should do. I feel like it's my duty to help others, and that's just the way I feel.
Actually, I'm back up there. Branson is a largely seasonal economy. Should this seasonality be addressed as we move forward, and if so, what's the best way to do it?
Well, I would love to see the season extended. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think all of us would. I don't think nobody likes to go on unemployment around here. And, you know, I mean, if there were people in town, I'd never shut the doors. I mean, I think a lot of people agree with that because in January and February, the bills don't stop. My mortgage is the same in January and February as it is in May or July or September. My water bill's the same, my electric bill's the same. I still have insurance costs. I have all these costs, but just no revenue. You know, mm-hmm. So I mean, if we could, to extend the season would be amazing. I think you're going to need, several. I mean, marketing. I mean, it'd be nice to see some. If we could get some big corporation on the outskirts of town, or say Ford Motor Company wanted to put in some little place that give 750 jobs to the community. That's just 750 more jobs and families and more people, and the more you build that, the more people that are, the more income that comes in the city, the more tax revenue, the more chances for people to make money in the off season. I mean, I think just building business and bringing new ventures to the town could be a great thing to extend the season.
The continuation of Branson's tourism tax is on the ballot in April. What is your opinion of the tourism tax?
So the tourism tax is, well, I know why the tourism tax is there. I would like to see maybe the funds be allocated a little better and really looked at. Once the funds are collected, I'd like, it'd be nice if maybe they need to look at where they're distributing the money after they've collected the money. I mean, mm-hmm. What with the taxes at 75%? What is the 75% infrastructure, mm-hmm. 25% marketing? Mm-hmm. Which are both infrastructure's huge. I mean, without strong roads and bridges and water supply and waste management, I mean that's the foundation of keeping a city moving. Marketing wise, I mean, I would love to see the CVB put a little more attention on live entertainment in the mm-hmm. town. I mean, I think that's always been a concern of theater people in this town, that in the last several years that we've kind of been put down here in a little box and everything else has been highlighted, and everything else is important. But again, I mean, Branson is built on something unique, and that is live entertainment. And driving down this road and seeing the Hughes brothers and the Presleys and the Clay Cooper shows and the Bald Knobbers and family businesses that have put years and decades into something, they're not going to come. It's not the CVB's job to fill my theater, so to speak, but it is their job to get people to this town. And once they get here, it's up to us to try to funnel them into our place to get, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I would love to see a little more focus on live entertainment. Again, like I said earlier, they're wanting to change Branson, and change is going to happen, and change is a good thing. But let's not leave behind what made Branson what it is. You know what I mean? You can find a boardwalk and a landing and go-karts and miniature golf about anywhere. And I love all those things, and the more the merrier. But this is the one thing that sets Branson apart, is family live entertainment.
And that's actually a really good segue. What is your understanding of the perception of Branson worldwide, and do we need to change that perception in any way?
Well, for years the perception was it's a bunch of hillbillies singing country songs in overalls, and it was that for a long time, and I loved it. You know what I mean? I look at that like when I put my show together. I love Merle Haggard and I love George Jones. If it were me, I'd sing 2 hours of Merle Haggard songs, just one after another. But not everybody loves Merle Haggard the way I love Merle Haggard. You know what I mean? They might like to hear a couple of Merle Haggard songs and then move on to something else. So you have to give it a variety. If you want people to come and see what you're doing, you need to mix it up so there's a little something for everybody. And I don't think that stigma of Branson from the outside world is still. It's just a country place where people are hee-hawing and banjo picking. I don't think that's the stigma. It could be to some degree, but and there's a lot of people out there that don't even know what Branson is or even heard of Branson, which is surprising to me. But I don't know. I think to the common person that's living up in northern Iowa somewhere, they probably heard of Branson. Hey, it's a cool place with there's a lot of shows and a theme park there, and there's so much to do, and they just get in and try it. I hear it every day at my show. We've never been here. My neighbor Joe was taking the trash out and said they just got back from Branson. I'm like, what's Branson? Oh man, they got shows and there's go-karts and there's Ferris wheels and there's restaurants and the whole bit. So I don't know. I don't know what the stigma is anymore, but I don't think it's known as Branson, Missouri, the whole dump, country town. Really, I don't think so.
What or how would you define Ozark mountain culture?
How would I define Ozark mountain culture? Whole dunk banjo overall. No, I'm just kidding. Ozark culture. How would I define Ozark culture? Well, I don't know. I would say just good old country people that I don't know. Are you talking way back or what are you talking about? What?
Either one, of course. Just the culture of the Ozarks.
Culture of the Ozarks.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just laid back, God loving people. I mean, really. I mean, that's kind of the perception I've got. Just good old folks that having a good time and just good country folk. That's all I really know how to say. I don't know.
Do you think that cultural identity is important? And if yes, what would you propose to help us retain a sense of cultural identity here?
Here meaning what
Branson, and of course the Ozarks as a whole, but Branson specifically.
Well, elaborate on the question. What do you mean by? What do you mean? How?
Cultural identity. We've talked about the perception of Branson, the cultural idea of what Branson is, the cultural idea of what the Ozarks are. If that's something that should be focused on, if that's something that should be worked at to be retained, or if we really don't have to worry about it.
Oh, you mean what people's perception is?
I would say our cultural identity, if there is one. Is
there one? I don't know. What is our, as a community, cultural identity? I wasn't aware there is one. God, family, yeah. God, family, well, for sure that. I mean, and I think that's what. I think people feel that when they come to Branson and they go to the family shows. Well, I hear it all the time. Man, I just love how you guys can, how y'all do gospel music in the show, and you're not ashamed to sing about God. And I love how you honor your veterans. And for sure, one of the most veteran-supported places in America that I've ever seen. I mean, if you're a veteran, you come to this town, you're going to be welcomed with open arms. You're going to be respected. You're going to be treated and honored like you should be. And the veterans love that, man. I mean, I work with the veterans a lot.
Yeah.
Do a lot of things with the vets, and and the appreciate. I mean, when I look out there in the audience, and I do a little spiel and a speech in the show, and interview some veterans and play the video every day. And when I look out there and I see 65, 70-year-old men wiping tears off, you know you've done something. You've done something right. For them to feel that special and that loved is it's just a great feeling. And I've built some great relationships with several World War II veterans and Vietnam veterans and Korean War veterans and Gulf War veterans. And man, I mean, they are the foundation of America, veterans, and what they've done and putting their lives on the line and serving our country so that we can have the freedoms that we have is just, it's the most heroic thing a person can do. So when they come to this town, they should feel like a hero and be treated like a hero. And I think they get that anywhere they go in this town. They feel that, and that would be an identity of this area and one to be very proud of.
What policies will you implement in the first year of your term as alderman?
Golly, I just put a yard sign up yesterday. You won't know my first policy. Well, obviously, number one would be repealing the face covering ordinance. Yeah. I know the pandemic's real. I know people said that. Yeah, it's a real deal, and people have died from it. But I feel like we've got this thing. I mean, everybody I know in this town that has a business and owns a business and runs a theater or a restaurant, they're grown adults. They're grown people. They know there's a virus out there. The people coming here know there's a virus. We're at 8, 9, 10 months into this. Everybody knows what's going on. So let them be grown people and make the decision that best fits them, right? If you're susceptible and you're in a high risk and you're older and you have respiratory issues or something, odds are you're probably not going to be coming here or to Florida or to anywhere until you feel it's safe to do that. But you're going to make that decision. I don't think we need the government to tell that person, hey, you're susceptible and you have a respiratory infection, you probably shouldn't go nowhere. They probably know that by now. If anybody doesn't know that, then they've been living under a rock. You know what I'm saying? So as Americans, I think we're smart enough to know the consequences. And I think we're smart enough to take the correct steps in doing what's comfortable for yourself and the people around you, right? So if I'm in a public area, I'm going to respect people's space, and I think most people will do that. And by lifting the mask ordinance, I don't think that people all of a sudden nobody's going to wear a mask. There's still people that's going to wear a mask, but they're going to make that decision themselves. You know what I mean? And if people want to have a mask ordinance, a policy at their business that they have to wear when coming in here, that's their right. They can put a sign in the window, and then that person can choose whether they want to go in there and wear a mask or not. But not everybody, to be told to have to do that is just, when all this happened, I mean, you don't, in my opinion, you don't quarantine the entire country, you isolate the sick. And there's a difference in isolation and quarantine, you know what I'm saying? So if you know you're sick, stay home until you're better and don't go out. But to quarantine these 1,000 people because this one person's got a cold doesn't make sense to me. Maybe that person should isolate and let these people live their lives. You know what I mean? And again, I'm not taking the virus lightly. I'm just saying we're almost a year into this, and people know the consequences. They should be able to have, as an American, to make that choice of whether they want to wear a mask or not. I'm not an anti-masker. I'm an anti-mandate of the mask, and there's a difference.
Absolutely. How is Branson or Branson residents going to benefit from you as alderman?
Well, I'll tell you 3 things: common sense, morals, and open ears. I mean, I believe if I get elected again, I ain't doing it for the money. You know what I mean? I ain't doing it because I got all this extra free time on my hands. I'm doing it because I feel like in the last year we haven't been heard. And as a person in that position, as a councilman or an alderman, that's your job, is to collect information. If a bill comes up on an agenda list or an item or whatever, your job as an alderman is to take all the facts that you can, study it, read about it, meet with your other aldermen, and make the best conclusion you can as a human being with morals, and take the information that you're getting from the constituents in your ward and make the best decision you can on that one item with what you feel is right, and from the feedback that you're getting from your constituents is right. And I feel like that's, again, I'm not a politician. I don't know everything there is about budget and debt and infrastructure and this and that, and I can't fix everything today or tomorrow. But I can give my time and my input and make common sense decisions based off of what I've been raised on and what I've been taught to be right, and make the best decision I can that's going to help everybody involved.
Absolutely. Clay, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
It's an honor to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me.
And good luck on the race.
Man, I'm gonna need some more coffee. That was a lot of questions I ain't never had before.